Last week, Stadia became the centre of attention in probably the worst possible way, with Google shutting down first-party game development after less than 2 years in production. This has led to many to wonder whether or not Google Stadia is dead. Well, the short answer is no, Stadia isn't dead, at least not yet, but we're going to discuss just what that future might hold for the game streaming platform to maybe provide a little bit more clarity. Thanks for watching 9to5 Google here on YouTube. Remember to thumbs up, hit subscribe, and then tap the bell icon to be among the first to watch our upcoming videos. So if you didn't already know, in a formal announcement last week, Stadia's Phil Harrison shared that Google was winding down their Stadia Games and Entertainment division and discontinuing their development of first-party Google-made video games. Some see Google stepping away from making their own games for Stadia as a sign that the gaming service doesn't have much longer to live, which is understandable. If Google isn't going to make games for their own platform, then why should anybody else? Following that thought though, the announcement was a realisation of their initial concerns about trusting Google to create a gaming platform, pointing to Google's storied history of killing beloved products. To put it simply, people see the shutdown of Stadia Games and Entertainment as the beginning of the death of Stadia. It's a major meme at this point, but it is something Google will continue to contend with simply because products get a big release, then a public execution, sometimes within months, and Stadia, understandably, was going to be one of those devices or one of those platforms where people were throwing concerns around. Without a doubt, the death of Stadia Games and Entertainment is a major blow to Stadia's reputation, one that it had only just started to repair, and one that Google will have to fight tooth and nail to come back from. Being pessimistic, the negativity surrounding the platform is probably only going to get worse in future. However, Stadia as we know it currently is definitely not dead. Throughout the announcement, Google made it fairly clear that Stadia is not dead, and it will be bringing in a wealth of games from third-party companies and developers. For decades though, exclusive games have been one of the main drivers behind the success of a video game console. One of the best examples of this is Halo, which became one of the greatest reasons to purchase an original Xbox, leading to the developer, Bungie, being briefly acquired by Microsoft. Other franchises like Forza and Gears of War have also sold for Xbox, leading to Microsoft acquiring even larger studios like Bethesda. Similarly on PlayStation, God of War, Ratchet & Clank and Last of Us have sold for PlayStation and sold consoles, and of course Nintendo is the most famous for its massive roster of exclusive and wildly successful franchises, including Mario and The Legend of Zelda. For its part, Google seems now to be disinterested in developing a first-party game for Stadia. Notably, this doesn't necessarily mean that Stadia will not have any more exclusive games, it simply means that Google won't be the ones to develop them. Therefore, they can't be the biggest cheerleader for games that could exist in the cloud. Instead, Google is going to rely on third-party developers to push the envelope and prove, both to gamers out there and other developers, that not only are their experiences only possible in the cloud, but these are worth buying into Stadia for. However, these experiences will likely look nothing like the future we were shown back in 2019, where things like the Google Assistant could help you beat a hard level, or games could be enhanced by AI to offer more lifelike characters. Although on the flip side, this might actually mean that exclusive features are the seller rather than exclusive first-party Stadia games. Or maybe Google has just realised that creating the next Mario or Halo from scratch isn't as viable in 2021 and beyond, when games as a service like Fortnite, GTA 5 and others are what the main gaming population are now expecting. Google is therefore shifting Stadia into a vehicle for business partnerships. But what exactly does that mean? Well, in the announcement, Phil Harrison shares that Google is willing to partner with companies seeking a gaming solution built on Stadia's tech. This has the possibility to range from a service like Ubisoft Plus, integrating with various Stadia apps to simply unlock games, to a bespoke experience such as a standalone EA Play app that quietly uses Stadia for the online streaming offering. For gamers out there who are okay with the status quo of Stadia as it stands, where you can just buy the games that you want and aren't required to pay a subscription or buy hardware, it's entirely possible that nothing will change. Ubisoft Plus serves as a prime example of this. You have the choice to buy individual Ubisoft games from the Stadia store, or get access through a Ubisoft subscription. The final decision will of course be given to developers and publishers, but after putting the necessary effort into getting a game to run on Stadia, it should be easy enough to also offer it for sale, not just through a subscription. What we simply don't know yet is whether Stadia will become a generic white label service, or if the Stadia experience as we know it today, including the apps, store, community and controller hardware, will continue to exist. If the platform does fold, this is most likely what will happen. But if Google still intends for Stadia the console to thrive, shutting down Stadia Games and Entertainment effectively surrenders their ability to leverage developers into using Stadia's exclusive features. Just 3 months ago, Stadia Games and Entertainment shared that they were specifically seeking to help publish games to launch in 2023 and beyond, as well as any game that would include Stadia exclusive features such as state share and anything that uses the Google ecosystem. There's no doubt that the future for the platform is murky, but one thing is pretty clear. For Stadia to thrive in the long term, Google needs to be able to make a profit from it, and the decision to shut down Stadia Games and Entertainment is, unfortunately, a step in that direction. That said, Google might be on the road to democratizing access to games with Stadia's technical infrastructure accomplishments, but the lack of first-party games means that Google won't have quite as much of a say in shaping the heart and future of the platform with regard to games or the games industry in general. Of course, it remains to be seen just how other third-party game developers and publishers treat Stadia itself. Between the success of Cyberpunk 2077 and the lack of first-party games from Google is a strange time for the platform. In the meantime, however, nothing is changing for the average Stadia player out there. New games are still coming, the friends you made are still there, new features are still being actively developed, and the games you bought are still ready to play right now. As of today, Stadia itself isn't dead. What the future holds, well, it sure doesn't look too promising. But that's effectively where we are, what possibilities exist, and some potential avenues Stadia could go down. There's no doubt that the platform works and it works well. The problem is that it's clear that convincing people to take a punt isn't proving too successful, which is disappointing, especially after a year where so many milestones and improvements have been made to Stadia wholesale. But with all of that said, let's open up this wider discussion to you though. Is the death of Stadia inevitable? What do you think will happen? What would you like to see? And where would you like to see the platform go? Let us know down in the comments section below. It is an open forum after all, but let's try and keep it civil no matter which platform you prefer. But as always, until next time, this is Damien with 9to5 Google saying thanks for watching, and I will speak to you later.